Yep. Went to get in my car. It wouldn't open. Doors wouldn't open. I couldn't do anything. I couldn't even get in the back of the car. Couldn't open the back because I couldn't get the door to unlock. And I was like, how do I start my car? How do I get in? Nothing. It was deader than the doorknob. I did not see any type of warning. I did see something that indicated needed maintenance, but I had gotten an appointment saying, well, it's time for your appointment, or gotten a little notice saying it's time for your appointment, is that comes up on the dash. And so I thought, okay, that's what it is. And I was waiting for them to call me to schedule the appointment. But I could not get in the car. Nothing. So, and I couldn't figure out even how to get the control, because my other car that I had from this brand is a BYD Build Your Dreams, which was a nightmare that day. I just there was an easy way to pull out the mechanical lock or key, and I couldn't figure it out. I actually had to go on YouTube, just find out how to get the key out of there and go in there. So I'm standing there. Thankfully, I was here at my home when it happened. I was not stranded somewhere else. And that's why I actually bought a new car. And so this is just something for you all to think about when you're moving, if you're going to move to Costa Rica, as far as transportation. You know, it's a big decision what to get, you know, if you should get a car. This is the fourth car that I've had since I've been in Costa Rica. The first one, we just bought a used car. And it was, I mean, we paid more for that car than my car that was like 10 years, 15 years newer. Cars are expensive. It was a used, like Nissan Sentra, Datsun or something. Who knows? I don't even think they still have the brand in the U.S. But so we bought that used car just to have transportation. And then we decided to ship a car over. We were able to buy a car. We bought a family member's car, and it was really good shape, very low mileage. We got it at Blue Book. It was in excellent shape. So we were going to ship it, and then we decided, well, we thought we'll drive it, you know, from the States down here. And then someone warned us that wouldn't be so good trying to cross the border, you know. And so, you know, so we were like, you know, so they made a statement. They were like, well, the Bible does promise a resurrection, you know. And I was like, you didn't have to tell me twice. And so we were like, okay, no. So we just drove it across the state, across the U.S., put it on a ship in Miami. You had to take everything you had in it. You couldn't leave a CD, nothing. And only an eighth of a tank of gas, nothing in the car. So we did that. And then we had it shipped over to Costa Rica, which took 3 weeks or something like that. And the guy, in the meantime, as we're halfway there, or almost halfway there as far as driving, he calls us and he says, there's going to be a dock worker strike, so we don't even know if you'll be able to get your car. And you're like, what? So I don't know if the strike happened or not, because when we got there, you know, we went and picked up the car. It was like the last car left, so on the lot that they had brought in. But so, you know, we paid for the shipping, got it there. Now, you think the shipping of the car would be expensive. It wasn't the expense of the shipping. It was the taxes. So you have to pay an import tax on your own car. So that was, I think at the time, like 79% of the value of the car. So I think Blue Book, we paid probably like $5,000 or something like that. So we paid maybe like $3,500 in taxes. The car had to be paid off. So you had to have the pink slip, which we did. And then when you have it registered and you pay the taxes and everything, you turn in the pink slip. That's really uncomfortable because you never see it again. And then they give you a new title of ownership. So we paid the taxes. So in the end, we actually paid the exact same value of buying a car here, which was double what you would pay in the States. So that's how you're thinking, it's double. Well, the car that we had, like I said, it was very low mileage. Cars here are going to have a higher mileage. So it's not really comparison because of the quality of car we knew we were getting, or if it's a car that you have. But then the uncomfortable thing is too, was that even though that car had always been taken care of by the agency there in the US, I felt a little uncomfortable taking it to the agency here. And I guess I shouldn't have. It was an agency car. I mean, even the recalls that it had a recall on some gas lid, or what do you call it, the gas cap or something like that. And, they replaced it there, so it probably shouldn't have been a big deal. But we went ahead and always used mechanics. Now, that's a whole nother thing that you will find out if you have a car using the mechanics. I can't really say what they're doing, but in the end, it seems like the mechanics end up, after you've paid them for all these different repairs, they're the ones who end up owning your car. A lot of times, I'm not saying nothing bad about them, but you spend a lot of time with your car in the mechanics when it's a used car. I don't know why. But anyway, so that was car number 2. And then I was able to get a new car, and I got a new car. It was this brand, BYD, Built Your Dreams, is a Chinese car. And people were like, you're getting a Chinese car. And I was like, you got on Chinese clothes. You eat Chinese food. What? What's wrong with Chinese? I mean, it was the only car really for the price and the size that I could afford. And I could get a loan for. And that's a whole nother story. Something you need to know. You have to have permanent residency if you need to get a loan for a car. And it was really a lot of work. A lot of people don't do it because it is a lot of work. And I had to really work hard with the bank, with a CPA. I mean, it was just a lot of work. It was a lot of work. So if you need to get a new car, you just need to bring new car money. Just buy it outright. I mean, you could do it, but it was determination and it was hard. And in the end, the CPA told me, he said, in my 50 years as a CPA working with other Americans, other foreigners in your situation, I have never once had one person get approved for a loan. So, because he had told me, no, don't do it, don't waste your money or whatever. And I only got the car new because I was like, look, I was paying just about car payments on repairing the car that I had, And I said, for him, it's easy because he's from here. He's a man, he can speak the language, and they're not going to tell him the diddly-doo goes over there and I just buy whatever, And so he's like, yeah, tiene razón, So, his son, because he was retired by then, his son really helped me and went to the bank and just kind of put his hands down. He says, I'm just going to act like I'm mad. I'm not really mad. And he helped me that first time through. The next time through, it was a different circumstance. So he wasn't able to help me because I don't remember what the change of circumstance, but it was right after the pandemic, and a lot of things had changed. A lot of things had changed. And I figured, since I was going back to the same bank with the same money, just a little bit more, because, over the period of 6, 8 years, you have a little bit of cost of living. So I figured if I had qualified before, I would qualify again. As the same bank, I paid the loan off early, like in half the time. So what could be the problem? What could be the problem? All the rules had changed. It was horrible. I mean, it took me 3 months to get through that. And I think they invented I think they were inventing things as they went. I really do. I think they were inventing things as they went. But I just was able to plow through and finally, get the loan for the car. And the only reason I needed to get a loan, because during the pandemic, I knew I was going to change the car that I had. I wanted to get an electric car. Only because I'm kind of like, I like the technology. I'm into technology. Not that I do anything. I plug it in and I use it, and that's about the extent of it. But during the pandemic, I had paid off the other car, and so I was just saving the money for a new car and to change from the one I had, a gas model car. But during the pandemic, I didn't even drive the car even 2,000 kilometers through all of that time. And so I was like, what do I need another car for? And we couldn't go anywhere during the pandemic. We were just like stuck here. We couldn't go anywhere. The beaches were closed. The hotels were closed. You could go to a doctor appointment. You could go to the get food, and you had to come back. And everything was controlled based on the last number of your license plate. And so if they saw you out on a day that wasn't your assigned day, you could get a fine, or I don't even know if they took your license off or whatever, but they have that too, where they'll take your license plate off your car, and then you have to go through all of the hoops to get your license plate back. And I've been by somebody who was doing that, and they had paid like $1,000 in 3 days of lost work trying to get their license plate. I mean, that something like that. It was just more than just like, oh, just here's my money and my fine, give me my license or pay the fine. No, wasn't like that. So anyway, so since we were here and I wasn't able to go anywhere or do anything, and the money was just saving, I decided to build the swimming pool. So I mean, I was desperate. I was crazy. I needed to go somewhere. I couldn't go anywhere, and I had to think, what kind of exercise could I do? And I had one of those little plastic pools, and every time I put water on it, because this is mountainous, I put water on it, and I get it, and the water went out. Water kept going out. Water kept going out. So after a number of times of doing that, I called and got a quote, and pools are not as expensive in the U.S. And I mean, it's like moderately built. It's nothing like lavishly built. It's basically a block square of cement block, and got the mechanics and everything like that. So that's what I did. And so that's what put me in the situation of having to get a loan. So maybe you'll come over, be a little bit in a different circumstance or situation, but it really is hard because you have to have your pension, your income documented by the Secretary of State in the U.S. and then I had to have a lawyer do a document that cost me like $250 or something like that, as far as who here would be notified if I left the country, so that the bank could notify somebody that I couldn't just leave, and that there would be someone who had to legally be my representative for the bank to notify them. So, and they can know where the car is and everything like that, right? So, and then these cars actually have a RFID. So on the windshield and on the license plate, they know where your car is. so you're not gonna hide it. They'll find you, all right? So anyway, yeah. So I like having. So this car number 4 is, I finally was able to get the electric car. I like it because it's a lot more economical. The cost of gas here could be quite high. So what I pay for a month for electricity increase, from what I can calculate, was about what I would pay for a half a tank of gas on my gas car. So it saves itself that way. And then the BYD car has a 6-year warranty. So when I actually went shopping for cars, I just went from place to place to place. How long is your warranty? How long is your warranty? How long is your warranty? How long's your warranty? And BYD was the only one that had a 6-year warranty. So this is the second BYD car that I've had. I know the shop. You know, I know how they treat me. I know how they deal with people. You know, I've had to kind of, no, it hasn't been bad. You know, it hasn't been bad. You know, the only thing was, it was kind of weird, you know, when the battery went out on this car, the 12-volt battery. And I called, and, you know, the guy in the parts department quoted me $900 for a battery. And I'm thinking, what, you mean the battery for charging the car? And he goes, no, the 12-volt, the original 12, if you want a 12-volt BYD battery like you have right now, is $900. And I was like, next. And he goes, well, you can get a generic one for, it was a little over $200. And when I was talking to the girl in the service department, she's like, it's just a battery. You can go and get any old battery, you know, anywhere. So I did. I went to the local place here, and I was able to get a jump start. So I was able to get the key out to open the car and to be able to lift the hood out. I couldn't get to the jumper cable because there was zero power to be able to open. So even if I had a way, I had no way to get to the jumper cable. That was like a shock, you know. It's like, really? And so the road service, the national insurance that I have, Instituto Nacional de Seguro, INS, they were here in about a half an hour, and he jumped it, and I left the car running. I let it charge. I plugged the car in. I charged it. I just let it run until I was ready to get out. And so when I went to buy the car, the guy's like, oh, okay, no, your battery's in good shape. It's got 100% charge. I was like, yeah, it's been charging for like 4 hours. So, you know, till I was ready to get out and get their shop open, because I started off early trying to call around to figure out what I was going to do after the guy came. So that was a shock, because I mean, I could not do anything. So I love the BYD. I love driving an electric car. It's fun. It's not as expensive as some other cars, you know, as far as buying the car. It's quiet, it's powerful, and, you know, something that it's heavy and things like that. But that was my shock. 12-volt battery, 12-volt new. I'm glad I didn't stop with $900. I'm glad I didn't stop that. And so it ended up costing me, because he said it in colones, 450,000 colones. And I was like, what? Did I hear you wrong? I was writing it thinking he said 45,000. And then he said, no, 450,000. And I was like, what? Perdón? And then he's put it in dollars, $900. I'm like, I understood that. $900. What are you telling me? A battery? A regular battery? A battery? $900? That was like a shock. I don't even know who would even do that. I hope someone else will go, what? You know, like I ended up saying what. So that was like my one thing that I've had. I hope parts in the future are not going to be shocked like that. I mean, the other BYD I had, the parts were always really reasonable. So we'll see, you know. Fortunately, you know, unfortunately, tires and batteries have no warranty, right? So hopefully those are the two things that you would wear out, tires and battery. I'm not even looking forward to what tires are going to cost. I'm not buying originals. I'll just go to the local store somewhere and get me some tires when it's time to get tires. But yeah, it's good to ask. It's good to react. It's good to say, what you talking about, Willis? What you talking about? I don't know if that's a copyrighted sound, but you know what? You need to ask. So this is Sandra, just a coffee pick a minute. I hope to see you again. Please like and subscribe if you got this far. Maybe there's something that I had to say that you were able to benefit from. So see you again. Hasta luego. Ciao.